When I was a young and very dumb child, I didn't like Vanessa as a unit in Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones. However, in recent years, as I've grown older, I've also grown fonder and fonder of her with every new playthrough of the game I do. And if you've watched my last video, or even my Sunday streams of my Sacred Stones Iron Man, you know that at this point, she's pretty much become one of my favorite characters in this game, and is also probably one of the favorite characters in this community, even gaining the affectionate nickname of Buffessa because of how much of a carry she is, usually in our runs of this game that we do on this channel. Quick side note, if you want to access the Buffessa emote you're seeing on screen right now, hit the join button below to become a member. But shameless plug aside, this newly acquired fondness of this character is the reason that in today's video, I'm aiming to answer the question, can you beat Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones using only Vanessa? The rules of this challenge are quite simple. Hard mode only, no cheating or glitches, a single healing item can be brought on the map, and I can't use the convoy to grab more healing items. I can, however, pick up more of them from natural ways on the map, such as a chest, enemy drop, villages, or from forced reinforcement with whom you can trade them. So let's address the elephant in the room right away. How the hell is Vanessa going to get out of the early game? Because unless you don't know much about this game, one of the few weaknesses of Vanessa is her strength base and growth. She starts with 5 strength, and her growth of 35% doesn't make it a stat you should expect to grow that often. Her other weakness is her low con of 5, essentially locking her into using the Slim Lance if she doesn't want to be slowed down, so essentially her damage will remain low. Unless you're willing to sacrifice her strengths of speed and skill to counterbalance it all. On that note, all her other stats are quite good. 11 speed to begin the game is quite exceptional, while her skill and res are also pretty good. Another underrated base stat of hers is the 6 defense, which is pretty high for a level 1 character. It's not going to make her exceptionally tanky, but it's still pretty good to highlight, especially for this character that is not quite known for her defensive prowess. And despite her low HP of 17, she can still take 2 hits from one of the fighters in the prologue, despite the weapon triangle advantage, so it's nothing to scoff at really. Her growths are going to be what you expect, some of the highest in the game in both skill and speed, and pretty much average to above average in all stats not called HP and strength, where it's quite the opposite as she is looking closer to some of the lowest growths in the game. Not quite the lowest, but close to there. So as she struggles in the background, you may be asking yourself, Kratos, how is this run functionally different from Tana's? And that is a good question, random commenter I literally just made up to move the script of this video along. The way this run differs is in these first few chapters, where a major thing will hold Vanessa back that Tana didn't have as a problem, and that is their inventory is quite different. You see, while Tana's inventory hindered her speed and made these first few maps sketchy, it still allowed her an easy fight into Brigitte, the first boss of the game, who has an effective defensive stat of 13 as he is standing on a gate. But that didn't matter to Tana because of her heavy spear and higher base stats overall. On the other hand, Vanessa does not have the luxury of a heavy spear to fight Brigitte. With a Slim Lance and a Javelin, it's gonna be a little tougher to damage him. So what's the strategy to get out of this early game? So first off, between the Javelin, Slim Lance, and trading Seph's extra vulnerability to Vanessa, the prologue can actually be taken care of pretty handily, as Vanessa will still hold generally good dodge and crit rate versus the fighters. It's not perfect, but it gets the job done. As the Slim Lance can also crit, giving us sometimes a lucky crit, the Javelin also allows us to fight from the mountain, giving us the advantage at a distance because we can't be counterattacked or reached for that matter, as these are fighters and not bandits. The hit rate will remain decent despite the weapon triangle disadvantage. The other advantage we have is from flying, is that we can skip right to the boss to focus him down and clear the map quicker, which allows us to move on to chapter 1 and focus on this as it's going to be the tough part of the run, I think. And here you'll see the main issue with flyers is that they can't take advantage of the terrain bonuses, such as using the forts on this map to their full potential to gain extra defense and dodge, and not only use it to heal us, as that is the one advantage flyers still have. However, on this map, reaching the forts means that enemy reinforcements spawn behind us, so it does make Vanessa's job a little harder here. since we don't really want to be overwhelmed. Something positive about this map is the arrival of Franz and Gilliam, giving Vanessa 2 possible Iron Lances and, more importantly, 2 more vulneraries, on top of whatever was left from the previous chapter that we brought into this map. And while this is helpful, as you can currently see, we need luck. There's no other ways to put it. We just need to dodge a bunch of 60% hit rate from axe users. That will hurt Vanessa quite a bit, since while her base defense of 6 was good for the prologue, it really falters here and we haven't leveled up defense or HP at all yet. Meaning that dodging is our most effective way because our bulk will be a little lacklustered. So banking on the RNG of crits and dodge will be kind of crucial for Vanessa to minimize the use of these vulneraries early. Nonetheless, we'll get lucky on one run as I get a few good axe dodges and a crit that opens things up a little bit. But I also forgot to move Seth, so the reinforcement corner him and leave our poor Vanessa alone for a few minutes, so that's kind of good. While I don't love this general strategy to use Seth as bait, it's not strictly forbidden in the rule set, and at this point I'm kind of more curious about the Brigade fight than anything else, so I kind of allow it just to see where this goes, to see if I even have a chance. That's more of the mindset I'm going in with for this specific attempt. So I allow killing the enemies from range over the water with the javelin, using this bit of terrain to my advantage. And here we get a few level ups, but it will not be enough. As you can see, I still do 0 damage to Brigade. So how can we even beat him? Well, functionally, we need more strength. So we'll need luck on both our level ups for strength and our dodges. So adding up the RNG that needs to go in our favor. We'll need to hit those 35% strength level up, and hopefully it's possible. But we might have to try a lot of times and reset until we get the right RNG. So as I reset the map and try again, I do come up with another strategy that might work. So basically, Vanessa starts with a lance rank of D, and Seth starts with a silver lance. And if you can kind of see where I'm going, you need an A rank to yield a silver lance. So if we could somehow get Vanessa's lance rank to A, she could use this weapon to kill Brigade, as it has enough might to make up for her low strength. But the question is it even close to possible? And theoretically, it is. Look at this chart here. In order to get from D to A rank, you essentially need 150 point of weapon experience, which isn't nothing, but let's look at the weapons we do get. 1 slim lance with 30 uses, a javelin with 20 uses, and 2 iron lances with 45 uses each, for a total of 140 usage, and each of those weapons provides 1 weapon XP per use. So the short answer would be that it's not quite enough, since that would be 140 weapon XP. But in FE6, there's an additional caveat to weapon experience, that every fatal hit doubles the weapon experience received, meaning that in theory, we could get the needed 150 weapon experience on paper by using up our lances over and over on Brigade doing 0 damage. And once we are fighting Brigade, every time he damages us, we could easily retreat to a fort, heal back up, essentially building up that weapon level to be able to use the Silver Lance and kill him. With all that being said, I think it's possible on paper, but I don't try it right away because it does sound very, very tedious. So before I resort to that, I'll try something else. I'll give the run a reset, a full reset, and redo the prologue differently, as I essentially left a full level up on this map by not killing the 2 fighters, whom if I take care of, I get an extra level that could give me a little bit more strength or other stats that I might want that could help me out. And also it allows me to avoid grinding the game in the most annoying way possible. So we'll give it a reset to see if it becomes a more manageable run with an extra level or not. Since like dodging the fighters on the second map is hard enough, so I'm just trying to put all the chances on my side to at least make it a little easier. Okay, so our first move will be to kill the 2 fighters, which will need some luck for it. We'll start by using the javelin to get some save damage on the first fighter, and then we'll use Seth to trade the vulnerary on Vanessa in case we get too much damage on us. And at the same time, I'll take this opportunity to trade around the slim lance as the equipped weapon to up our dodge and hit rate. And while the rest of this plays in the background, I want to bring up this as an important point to discuss. Because between this chapter and the next one, this is something I'll do 3 or 4 times total, I think, between the 2 maps, which might not seem like much to switch around the items, but I'll do that to ensure RNG is more in our favor in certain places. And the reason I want to bring it up is it might be seen as violating the rules of the solo runs. And while I've never done this exact thing before in a solo run, we've in the past used force reinforcement to manipulate the enemy's AI and other things of the sort. So given how much luck is needed early on, I feel like this little adjustment, which puts RNG on our side, isn't huge. And I will personally allow it for this one. Because if I'm being fully honest, I only realized that I did this after the full run was recorded, so I didn't really want to go back and record a full other run. There's that, and also because it would have taken away from the run if I did another one just for this, so I'll let it slide for this time. But let me know what you think about this in the comment. So the first level we get off of this is pretty much everything but strength, but it's good enough, so we'll forge forward and hope we get at least strength on the boss skill, who will easily manipulate off of using the javelin from the mountain and then finish him off on the enemy phase once he's low enough for 2 slim lance hits to kill him. And we'll do just that, gaining HP, strength, and skill, which are all extremely valuable here, as strength is kind of important to kill Brigitte, HP is a functional bulk for Vanessa, and skill is great early on to make sure we can counterbalance the weapon triangle disadvantage of all the early axes we are currently facing in those early maps, since missing a hit in these kind of scenario with low hit chance is really bad for Vanessa, since we can't tank that many combat rounds. So I'm happy with this level up. We'll start the next map in the same way by using the javelin first and then switch her back to the slim lance. This is one of those times I was talking about earlier. So take out the enemy, and here you'll see my strategy adapt a little bit. Instead of focusing on healing off the fort, I'll try to wait before passing the middle line to avoid early reinforcement. Here you'll see that last instance of me trading the slim lance in place of the javelin, and beyond this point, it'll just be a job of backing up and slowly healing, which will be made easier by the fact that we got 1 defense level up and 2 HP so far. So we can absorb a little bit more damage if we're kind of careful. And then on my 3rd level up, I get both strength and defense, which is great since on the next turn, I managed to take the damage of both the fighter and the soldier and survive. And when our turn comes around, we'll attack the fighter for a slim lance, 84% chance. We should be good, and we missed. Freddy misses too, so we get him on the counter attack. Holy, this was far too lucky and unlucky at the same time for me, man. Beyond this point, I'll ferry friends over to trade vulnerary and iron lance, and then I'll take out the soldiers near the boss before reinforcement inevitably come for us. And we get another strength level up, so we've gotten extremely lucky here, and I think we're on the right track going forward to beat Brigitte. So I'll move Vanessa out near one of the fort to naturally heal after my vulnerary use. The next turn will come and we'll be able to technically tank both fighter and the soldier thanks to our HP and defense level ups. We get lucky with 1 dodge, but we managed to clear out the whole thing very easily. Take a few turns to save on vulneraries on the fort and get our HP all the way back up. We'll get our last level up also on the last soldier. No strength, but with 8 and the iron lance, we get to hit Brigitte for 2 each time, so that should be enough to beat him. And we start this thing off with a crit. Yay! And we'll speed this up because thanks to lucky dodges and vulneraries, we get to slowly but surely beat his ass. And Brigitte should be done, and that should be it for the hardest portion of the game for Vanessa. Alright, so does this mean that we get to breeze through the rest of the early game? Drum roll, please. No. Vanessa will unfortunately still struggle for at least a few maps. Let's talk about those maps. So on chapter 2, we'll have to specifically be careful given the archer and yet again a bunch of axe units. Thus, make sure to stay out of the range of the archer as Vanessa can tank 2 hits from the bandits, but the bow's 3-time effectiveness might be a little too much for her for the moment being. We get a lucky dodge here, followed by an even luckier crit. And now we can take out the last 2 bandit, leaving us on 5 HP, but leaving us enough space to kill the archer before he can attack us and before the boss and the final bandit start rushing towards us, giving us just enough space. We'll take them on 1 at a time and heal up before letting the first one attack us. Luckily, we dodge his attack, meaning we can clear him next turn, and the boss will then attack us, and we dodge him too. Okay, so this is going to be pretty academic from here, and we'll clear the boss. This map went well, but I think we can all see all the moments where things could have gone sour for Vanessa. I want to stress how lucky we've been with this chapter, and technically in this whole run so far with all those strength, defense, and HP level ups. There are a few instances I could could have died, but it's not the case yet. And we move on to chapter 3, which we'll be talking about for a few minutes, since we're still in this situation where things are usually easy, but here we can see some moments of challenges arise for Vanessa. So here we'll try to abuse the walls and use javelins to help ourselves. However, it's not as easy as it would be normally, given how much the javelins negatively affect both Vanessa's hit rate and chance to avoid attacks. Also, there is an archer who will have to fight at range most likely, so it's gonna be a little tricky. So here on my first attempt, I forgot to give myself a full vulnerary, so we die to a hand axe without being able to heal after the archer does 16 damage to us. So you can see that some luck to dodge might be in order, because even with a full vulnerary, these enemies still significantly hurt Vanessa. This is all thanks to her being at a general disadvantage against all enemies except 2 on this map. The big challenge is killing the hand axe brigand over the wall without taking damage to soak in the archer's attack. Since it is 60%-ish chance to hit, we're gonna have to just take it to the face and hope to dodge the rest. Alternatively, we could attack from the top using one of our door keys to open the door and then canto away and try to go one enemy at a time, but we would have to fight one more bandit who will most likely hit us, and would take a little bit much longer. So you know what, fuck it, we ball. Let's throw ourselves at this problem the Kratos way. Bang your head against a wall until this strategy works. Simple. We catch a few game overs in the process. That's also the Kratos way. But manage to finally survive the archer with a single point of experience. And then once that's done, we'll go break the wall to the bottom chest room and take out the thief from a distance. This isn't because the thief scares me, but more to force the hand axe bandit to move before the steel axe one does, because they are in the Genesis rule same range. So I want to isolate him and take them on one at a time. So once the hand axe guy is dead, we head over the steel axe one, who I try to kill from a distance with the javelin as it one rounds him and lets me move forward somewhat safely. But of course we miss one of them, and when he attacks us, he hits, of course, leaving us for 4 HP for the boss. Okay, at least I have one vulnerary and the merc can't really hurt Vanessa like at all, so we'll attack the boss with a total of 14 HP. All right, here we check. With the steel axe, he has 50% chance to hit for 12 damage. That's scary. So we can do 7 damage twice from a distance with the javelin. And as you can see, I heal here and I will bring out more javelins. I will attack him from a distance with javelin. 7 damage, 43 chance that we hit once, we missed the second. He will switch to his hand axe, which will also do less damage. So he hits 8 and we missed 37. Okay, so this is getting a little trickier. With the hand axe, we don't have as good of a hit rate because he doesn't get slowed down. We can move to the slim lance here. 57% chance to hit, 6 HP. That's probably the best way to go about it. We have 10% crit chance here. Yes, 45, we hit the first, we dodge, we hit the second. Okay, now we gotta dodge again. He's got 13 HP. We dodge at 50% with the steel axe. Hit 2, 5 damage. He's got 3 damage from a distance. We miss and then we hit. Oh my god, that was so close. If any of those like high 40s to 50 would have hit, we would have lost. We had 6 HP and a dream and we made it happen. That was scary. All right, the tough part should be over, right? Well, not quite, but almost. We're almost done. So the problem will be chapter 4. Monster units are quite the pushover, and the chapter will generally just be a breeze as they don't really pose any threat to any units, and Vanessa's quite good by this point in terms of raw stats, if you don't account weapon triangle disadvantage, so she's doing pretty well here for this map. So we'll stop at chapter 5, a usual stop for these videos because it is always an interesting challenge. There are a few houses to grab items from, mainly for this run, the bottom house, which has a nice Draco shield that Vanessa would love a lot, and a secret book in the middle left side house, which isn't too necessary as Vanessa has pretty good skill growth generally, and after this map, most of our axe disadvantage issues should lessen quite a bit since it is the last map in the game where I think it's mostly axe units as enemies. But I'll still want the secret book because getting those 2 points earlier is good for crits, and it's just a little bit putting the RG a little bit more in my favor. It's a drop in the bucket in the grand scheme of things, but sometimes in these solo runs, a drop in the bucket is all you can get. So you take all you can get, really. And outside of axe unit, this map has a lot more archers, making it a little scary for Vanessa as she still can't really take them on really that well. And our first attempt will unfortunately end quickly as we try to do this in the normal fashion of take on the bandits first, but that only leads to us being overwhelmed pretty quickly. Our second attempt goes a little too similarly for my taste, which is why I then decide to try something else. It will include rushing a lot of things and use our flying ability to its full potential. So I start rushing the Draco shield house, and then the plan would be to book it through the middle of the map. On my first attempt, however, I don't do that. I linger a little too long at the start to try to dodge around and be fancy with it, and I catch a game over. However, in my second attempt, I rectify that and I rush up the middle and hope for a few lucky dodges, which we get, surviving both the archers and 2 axe units. So that's good. That's good. And then we book it straight for the second house, surviving yet another axe unit, and use Canto once we've grabbed the secret book to put myself in a relatively safe spot that no one can reach. I will then rush up to heal by placing myself between the houses at the top. No one can reach me there, but I forget that when a house is destroyed, the rune tiles can be traversed and I get hit by a bandit. So I have to move to the side and heal again. And now I have to kill the boss, but it is surrounded by a bunch of enemy. We might be in trouble. So I pull out the trusty silver lance we got from Seth because we now have an A rank, and otherwise I don't really do that much damage to Sar, given I don't have a heavy spear like Tana had. Strength is still a little low generally, and his defense is pretty good. So I attack him, and my only hope here is I either crit or he is the first enemy in the turn order, which I'm not 100% sure that he is at this point. So we attack him, and it's the enemy phase, and he attacks first. Oof, crisis averted. We move on to chapter 6. Well, right after we clear chapter 5X, but we'll move past that. We'll move on to chapter 6. Okay, so here we can finally breathe, and I'll play both of chapter 6 and 7 in the back, as both consist of skipping half the map to clear the boss quickly. And I'll play those in the background since we get our level 20 on chapter 6, and I think we should talk about that because our Vanessa is kind of looking really good here. If you bring up the most likely expected value, she has higher HP, strength, skill, and despite the secret book, she's still 1 point above. Luck is also higher, and the same thing for resistance. Both speed and defense are on the average with maxed out speed, and thanks to that Draco shield, our defense is at 12. So I think it's safe to say that Vanessa is starting to look a lot like Buffessa. Slowly but surely we're getting there. The great thing is that we'll also be picking up the Elysian Whip in chapter 8, so we'll be in line for a quick promo right after the end of that chapter. And while that map will play in the background, at least to start, let's touch on that promo too, since it's all coming up at the same time. And we talked about this exact same promo in the Tana video, and there won't be much difference between both characters. The promo stat gains are the same, Wyvern Knight being generally better with the Pierce skill. The same thing for the stat cap, so the answer is going to be Wyvern Knight. Even though you get potential sword and Hadalma, which is a sacred to Medin that does more damage than Vidofnir. Vidofnir is great upside for defense for a character with low defense and HP like Vanessa will probably end up having. So overall, it's really hard to not go Wyvern Knight here, because most of the time it's better. A few people have warned me in the Tana video that it could be dangerous promotion because of the Pierce glitch, where if you proc the Pierce skill on a range attack and the enemy doesn't die, it simply bugs your game and you have to restart over because the animations seem to stack or something like that. But it didn't come up that much in the Tana video. It might have come up once, but I don't mind resetting for a glitch because I don't think it's something you should hold against a character. I'll have to play a little bit around it and be a little careful. So we'll still go with Wyvern Knight, as I believe it's just better. For those who are disappointed because they would like to see a Falco Knight run, remember that there is still a Cyrene run coming up in the future. So Falco Knight will get its time to shine and we'll be able to see what it does. Before the promo, I want to finish talking about chapter 8 and I'll skip ahead to the end where I have 17 HP, no vulnerary, and still have to grab the angelic robe chest, so I have to clear a room full of knight and then fight Tyrdo. We clear out the first 2 knight and then jump in the room and javelin one of them. Luckily, we managed to dodge pretty much everything. We grabbed the angelic robe from the chest, but we still have to fight Tyrdo with only our silver lance, and thanks to the angelic robe, now 24 HP. Let's take a look how it goes. Again, no more healing. Remember that we don't have a super effective weapon here to help us out. So we'll pull out the Silver Lance, the Steel Lance, Javelin. We'll take the whole thing out. So Silver Lance, 10 damage against him, 77% chance to hit. We will enemy phase because 16 is bad, but we dodged at 47%. We hit the first one. He great shields the second. We'll back up. Go for Javelin, attack 2, get a crit on the second one. We missed the first one, but get a crit on the second one. And that will switch him to his 8 Javelin, and then we miss and he great shield the first one. Okay, we will go back to him with the silver lance, try to attack him, 37% chance to hit. He hits that 8 damage and then he great shields. That's what, 3 or 4 great shields. Now we dodged the 16, hit the 10, hit the second 10. Okay, we just need to do 4 damage to beat him. We could go from a distance, but I think it's safer to attack him directly. The steel lance does a lot, but the silver lance is a little bit more accurate. We hit it. Oh my god, no great shield proc. Tyrdo is always stressful because the great shield procs are horrible, but we beat him and we move on to the route split. This could have gone so bad. It's been 2 bosses that Vanessa has survived by the seat of her pants. Holy, that was crazy. So now we move on to chapter 9 through 14. And we'll go quickly through these, as they aren't that scary. The big thing on chapter 9 is due to high movement and flying. Vanessa is one of the few characters that can grab the extra Draco shield from the left side house on the map, which is nice. Extra defense we love. I also recruit Amelia for her speed wing. Despite not needing it, it's nice to have the extra 2 speed early. Then at the end of the map, it gets a little close since we have to use our vulnerary and get hit by an archer. So we have to fight Binks with 2 HP again, another boss with low HP. Luckily enough, you get an axe reaver early on this map, so we can dodge pretty much everything and beat Binks really easily. Chapter 10 is another easy chapter, as you can skip most of the map thanks to flying, so Pablo is kind of our only problem, and we get an easy goddess icon from Tetis. Beyond this is monster maps of chapter 11 and 12 aren't really much an issue either. Again, monster units are pretty much pushover, and Vanessa is really starting to hit her stride flying around the map and beginning her arc of domination, which is a stark contrast to her past minutes of this video and her early performance. We have a secret book on chapter 11, which we'll entirely skip as my skill is pretty much maxed out, I think, at this point. And on chapter 12, Ewan will provide us with an extra energy ring to boost our strength, which is very much needed, and we're thankful for that. Pushing forward to chapter 13, which normally might be a little scary given bows and ballistas for a flyer unit, but at this point Vanessa is almost unhittable by most unit. Even her defense and health look good enough, so we'll be able to rush down Ias and take him out with a heavy spear that was previously Tana's. It comes full circle. We got the Tana heavy spear. We can make up for the bad armored boss from earlier, and things come full circle. Vanessa finally gets to use it. Chapter 14 won't be much harder either. Simply go to the left side chest with the energy ring, and I normally would have grabbed the other chest in that room with the dragon spear to make Valter on the next map a lot easier, but I'll be frank, I fully forgot about it and just moved past it without ever thinking about it. But it's okay, we should be fine either way. Well, more fine than Carlisle that is, who has good damage on us because of the super effectiveness of the wind sword, but simply not enough luck to not get crit into oblivion. So chapter 15 finally rolls around. Now we have a few items to pick up on this map, and I'll actually start with the Metastone, which is a rare occurrence in the series, as I tend to not value that 5% growth in all stats in these kinds of run that much, and here I don't grab it because Vanessa needs it. She's looking great as is, but she's only level 15, meaning we have 5 more levels to go, and that extra growth might be nice to have overall, especially given some of her very obvious warts, that if we can get that a little bit more, it'd be nice. I don't know. Next, after that, I make my way to the boots to get higher movement, as it's probably one of the most important items for these runs. And before we move on to the next point of this map, let's take a minute to watch Null get obliterated. Ah, that feels good. Always great to see this man die. That may have been a little sadistic. It's okay. Bye-bye, Null. Bye-bye. But beyond this map isn't too hard. We match save Ephraim easily. Dusel also perishes at the end, but he survives long enough to allow Vanessa to clean up properly. There's another item we want on this map, and it's the body ring for the extra con, which would be especially nice given the sacred twin weapon we have is going to be Vidofnir. It has a weight of 11, and we currently have 9 con thanks to our great promo, but I don't pick it up. I once again forget an item. I don't know where my mind was during this run, but I think it's because it's been a little bit since I did a solo run, so my mind was a little all over the place. Hopefully we'll still be fine later. Calic is an easy fight thanks to the Axe Reaver we picked up earlier. It comes back to play, and we get the Hopland Guard from him, which negates crits and makes Valter a little bit easier on that front, and you know, any other potential crit later down the line. Next up, our target is a Valter, and since we do not have the Dragon Spear, I switch to my trusty boss killer, the Silver Lance, which is quite good enough for us to one-round him, because this Vanessa is a monster, and it somewhat feels poetic for Seth's Silverlance, Self's weapon, to be the one that takes out Valter given their encounter at the start of the game. That's kind of nice. Either way, we get a Feely Shield, which we'll use a little bit. It's not going to be that useful going forward, as the amount of scary archer at this point is basically zilch. So it's kind of a useless item from this point in the game, but we'll pick it up and have it for the few times it can come in handy. When it comes to chapter 16, again, Vanessa shows a flurry of dominance because despite having a few very scary axe units on this map, she dodges these warriors and heroes pretty well, and it has Pierce to boot that destroys them entirely. And then she dodges the Sage with the bolting and the purge. Additionally, their damage isn't that significant to her, and I don't even bother with being careful. I simply rush the talisman for 2 extra resistance points, because it's nice to have 2 extra resistance points considering Leon is a monster at the end, and then rush back back through the enemy mass to beat up Orson, stab him with a nice horse layer, and send him to the beyond where he can be reunited with his lovely wife. Alright, as chapter 17 quickly plays in the background, as it involves rushing Leon since this is a kill the boss map, and very easy to do with a flyer that has boots, and so maybe there'll be also a portion of chapter 18 in the back. We'll see. But anyways, while this happens, let's talk about level 20 Vanessa. And yep, I don't think I'm allowed to complain. Those are nice green stats for the strength, skill, and speed. Granted, for the first one in the list, we used 2 energy ring, but still, it's always a nice sight, and additionally, 21 defense is ridiculous. Given that even with the Draco shield, we are still 2 points above average, that is far more than respectable. She does have a downside technically, since HP, res, and luck all got 1 stat booster. So she's technically behind 3 on HP and 2 in res and 1 in luck. But honestly, for the rest of the unit to look as good as it does, it is a sacrifice I am definitely willing to make. Vanessa has been picking up the pace for a little bit now, as you've probably realized in this video, and now is going Mach 10 blasting through the game, earning herself, I think, the title of Buffessa. I think once more, she's deserved it fully. If you are a member, be sure to spam the emotes in your comment because she deserves it. All for Vanessa, man. What a great unit. I don't know how anybody cannot like her. I was a stupid kid back then. And by the way, if you're not a member, once again, consider becoming a member for the emotes. You know, you will be able to put the Vanessa emo below. It's great. You get a special badge too, early access to video, and it helps me keep sponsors on the channel to a minimum. Second shameless plug aside, let's move on to chapter 18, which won't be too much of a challenge since the stone rate is of 10%. I'm not too worried about it, I'll be honest. And I get to try and rush this map. However, in my zeal, I try to be a little too quick, a little too fancy with it, and do get hit by a stone from the boss, which has a slightly more accurate stone than the others. So Vanessa catches another game over, but frankly, that was just unlucky. Because in her next attempt, she clears it without batting an eye. And honestly, I don't need to use the fire tiles to my advantage that much. I still use them, I'm not an idiot. Because while the Gorgons chunk, they barely manage to hit Vanessa. And we'll go through chapter 19 quickly. Once again, it's easy. It's very easy. You rush down Reeve within turn 4, kill him, rush him down, and that's it. Map's done. You do get a Brave Lance from a general earlier, but yeah, we kill Reeve. And he does have some bulk to him. With hitting 1 pierce, he survives 1 round of combat. So, you know, props to him, but we'll clear him out either way. And we are almost at the end of the game. This seems to be going well in the second half. This seems to go in too well in the second half. Let's see how it goes. And look, you may have seen a pattern in the second half of this video. I won't beat around the bush. I will not beat around the bush. We'll rush the boss because Vanessa's a monster. Go across the water, attack Morva, hoping to either dodge, crit, or pierce him. Unluckily for us, what happens here is only the former, which is good, but it still allows him to attack us once again on his enemy phase, and that time he doesn't miss. And then Reeve comes over, takes his revenge on us, and also doesn't miss, giving us a quick game over. Okay, I was a little too quick. We'll do it again the same way, but with a little bit more carefulness. So on our second attempt, we don't attack him right away. We wait until we've killed Reeve to attack Morva. So once Reeve is out of the way, our enemy phase in front of Morva with Vidofnir. After healing properly, he attacks us and hits. Okay, that sucks. But then we get a huge crit and take that boy out. Right after that, a skeleton drops a spear for us. You get a better range weapon for the final map, so that's always nice to have. We're in the clear here, but oh, damn, that evil eye hitting that shadow shot would have been devastating. Oh, God. Okay. Got quite lucky again, but we get to move on to the final map. All right, Vanessa. Moving on to the final map. It is time. How will she do? So I'm thinking Vanessa should have an easy enough chapter here. Our first order of business will be to grab the angelic rope from the right side chest after we clear the skeleton, who are barely even an issue, as a lot of them will have 0 damage or very low damage and hit rate overall. The robe will bring our HP to around 50, which is better than it was because 43 is a little low for the final map, I'll be honest. And Leo and Demon King do a lot of damage, so you kind of want that HP stat to be a little high so you can take at least a hit, you know? We'll then take on the zombie dragon with a hit rate of 58. We can dodge pretty well, but our avoid rate would be better if we had taken the body ring from earlier. I do want to acknowledge that we would have 2 more speed to use, but it's still good enough to hope that we can bank on a dodge, or at the very least get a crit or a pierce, which has a 20% proc rate to ignore the defense at this point, or a 10% chance to crit. So in that case, I think I'll just send it and hope Lady Luck is on my side. And while we don't dodge, we manage to crit and clear this first obstacle very quickly. Then we need to take care of the Gorgons. That is our second order of business. So we heal up, then wait up with a pure water. One of the Gorgon does hit us though, but as we slowly clear them out around Leon, we get hit by the dogs that attack us. Have a lot of movements, but after all this, we still have 2 elixir. We should be hopefully fine for Leon, and as you'll see, Leon will do a lot of damage, and Vanessa can't survive 2 hits here, so the high HP and more res have been nice, but we can play around it. So we'll heal up, use a pure water. So here we have a few options. We can either attack with Vidofnir for the extra damage, or use a Killer Lance to bank on a crit. But I decided to try something else. I'll enemy phase with the Brave Lance. And my reasoning is that a 20% proc rate of Pierce and an 8% crit rate, if I can attack 4 times, then my chances of having anything go my way become a lot more likely. It's a little bit playing with luck, but at some point when you have high enough probabilities of like a little bit of something happening, something's gonna happen. Well, at least that's the way I see it. I'm pretty sure that's a fallacy, some sort of fallacy of probability, or either way, it ends up working. So if you're in the comments typing, but Kratos, it was actually a fallacy of logic. Shut up, Reddit, because my bargain pays off, and I proc Pierce on the first hit, and same thing on the last hit. So you know what? Fallacies are the truth. Don't put that in your exams. You will fail. Anyways, moving back onto the video game. We got lucky, but I feel like for this character, this is the best way to handle it. So we get to move on to the Demon King. Here you can see 18 damage, which is pretty good. On top of 46% hit rate for him, it gives us a good odds to dodge, paired with the fact that by him doing 24 damage, we can easily tank 2 hits from him. Thanks to that Angelic Robe. That's awesome. So we attack and we hit, but don't get the luxury of a dodge. However, a nice Pierce proc gives us a huge win, since now his HP is 48. Now part of me wants to attack and bank on another Pierce, but I decide to play it safe and back up and beat his reinforcements slowly, then finish him off properly, as I pretty much think this is in the bag by this point. And this is the smart thing to do. So I back up, I attack the Centaur with the spear instead, and no, the video is not paused. Nope, your video is not paused. It's still going. The Pierce glitch happens because I forgot about it. I forget about a lot of things in this video. I didn't think that far ahead, and I just blew my probably best shot at winning because of a glitch I touched on earlier and then forgot about it. And here we are. So I guess we try again, and Leon is dead once again thanks to Pierce and crit. Let's get back to the Demon King again. And after attacking him, while I didn't get a Pierce this time, his health is still low with 2 elixirs to go in my inventory. I got a better luck roll on Leon, the Gorgons, and the Zombie Dragon, so that's nice. So I should generally be fine. I take it slow, and I decide to back it up once again to do the same strategy. Take it slow, we'll be fine. We'll take out his reinforcement first, and as you can see me pull out my spear, you must be pulling your hair out of your skull right now, because I'm gonna do the exact same mistake and attack the gargoyle, and again, Pierce glitch happens. And twice in the span of 10 minutes, by the way. I keep doing it to myself. So I do the same mistake in a row. Honestly, I'm just very stupid, I think. I think I'm just very stupid. Because this run hasn't ended yet because of my own stupidity. And our 2 first attempts were pretty much perfect attempts. Or the perfect scenario of everything that could go right. But let me show you quickly the next few attempts go in this little montage where things don't go as much my way as last time. Yep, I'll be honest, I was getting very mad at this point. Because everything had gone too well, and then it just felt dumb at this point. It just plain dumb. Because it wasn't necessarily Vanessa's fault. It was my own small errors or a stupid bug and stuff like that. So let's take a look at this next attempt. Once I finally beat Leon thanks to some nice crits, but we have no elixirs anymore going into the final fight. So this is kind of the worst scenario going into the final fight, but there is a world where nothing goes your way and you have to use all your elixirs before the Demon King. And the attempt you're seeing right now is exactly that. We started by moving Ephraim out of the way, then select Vanessa and go attack the Demon King with our Vidofnir. 18 damage. He has 56% chance to hit us and only does 23 damage to us. Let's see how it goes. We hit the first one. He goes to attack us. We dodge. Okay, so that's really good for us since we don't have any elixirs here to get going. So all his enemies spawn and nothing is too crazy. I'm a little scared of the eyes because they can attack Ephraim from far and kill him because he's weak. So we'll go for the eyes. We will pull out the spear, but this time around, we know it's an enemy that we can one-tap, so the bug shouldn't happen. We are good, and we can't counterattack this Gorgon and possibly mess it up. So technically, there should be no Pierce glitch. We should be fine, but Ephraim is in danger of that second eye. So we gotta be careful here. We gotta hope, and I forget to put items on him. Forgot to put pure waters and elixir, so if he gets hit, we're so cooked. We dodge the stone here. That's good. Ephraim, 47% chance. He dodges. Good boy. Good boy. All right. So here, at least the javelin could have gone the Pierce glitch, but Pierce one-tapped him. So we ended up being fine. But you know what? We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. This could be worse. We will attack the Gorgon because that is a one-tap and the glitch can't happen on the Gorgon. So that was pretty much assured. So we were okay with that. Now we just want Ephraim to dodge another one, and he does. Nice. All right. I'll skip ahead as the two gargoyles aren't too bad, and the other centaur will attack us with a longbow. We get to go clear very safely that eye out of the range of the Demon King. So that's good. Nothing has hit us so far. We get to easily kill him, take him out. Then the centaur will come and attack us, and then we'll slowly clear him out. But I'll skip ahead of that. All right, now that all the enemies are cleared, we're setting up. Let's go back to Demon King. We don't really have a choice other than Vidofnir. We will attack, cross our fingers to not get hit. We get a first hit. That's nice. He attacks us. We get hit. 27 HP. And we hit again. No crits, no Pierce proc, nothing. Now he can enemy phase us. He attacks us, and we don't get a crit. We are in kill range. He has 46 HP. How is this gonna go? Pray. We attack. Ooh, we hit, but don't kill. We dodge, and we get a proc with the Pierce, and we kill him. Oh my god, that was so close. The odds of getting that dodge and Pierce were not perfect. And we did kill him in the end. Holy, that was close. Again, Vanessa played it so close with all the bosses, but she always came out on top. Very interesting run. We finally did it. After 1 hour on the last map, we beat the freaking boss. And I think it's always more frustrating when the fight is supposed to be easy and you clearly see it on paper that it should work, but stupid things start bugging. Anyways, it was pretty epic that the last fight didn't have elixir, so it ended up being like a bigger challenge than it ought to be. I really enjoyed that. So where does that leave Vanessa? Simply enough, we know she can solo Sacred Stones by herself, and she had enough of a dominant run post Chapter 5. But struggled immensely to get out of the early game, which is kind of a major hurdle for her. And let's look at her stats. We have a time of 7 hours and 27 minutes, which is in the top tier overall, and a turn count of 371, which is in the middle there. There's been units that have been higher, but it's in the higher 300s. And that is even accounting for her making up turns in a couple of chapters where she could just fly over to the bosses and kill them in 2 or 3 turns, where a lot of other units couldn't do that, which just goes to show how many turns she spent in the early game just overall, as she barely beats out Arthur in terms of turn count. And Arthur is a low movement unit technically, so that's kind of impressive. But again, she is good for like 70% of the game. And honestly, I won't dock points for the weird final chapter finish, as those were like bugs and just like a little bit of lack of luck not going my way, as I'm not counting it against her. You know, it felt like I should have had that, but I, messed up. But because of the early game struggles being so major, I think I'll place Vanessa just under Arthur at rank 4. I'm putting her in the same tier as Lute and Sala for now, since she was good, but had one kind of moment of major struggle. And I think that's kind of the tier where it's like, they're good for most of it, but they have this one major blemish that really comes and puts them out of the S tier, if you will. She also had a reset early. It's not one I'm weighing too much against her, since it was from my poor planning, and I could have gone without the reset. I just thought it'd be a little easier and put more chance on my side, so I'm not really counting it much against her. But I think this lack of early struggle that Tana had, or at least less early struggle due to her starting inventory, really shows here, because their stats, while slightly different, weren't that far apart. The thing that really hurts Vanessa was her starting equipment, keeping her stuck early on in those maps. But overall, tell me if you agree or disagree in the comments. I really have to find out what happened with the time for Tana, because I'm gonna be honest, it makes no sense. I think I may have stepped away from the game without pausing or something, because there's no way I spent 30 more minutes there. I don't know. I don't get it. Something crazy happened probably. I probably just stepped away from the computer without pausing. That's probably on me. Either way, I think Vanessa unfortunately falls just short of the top rank, but I'm still kind of up for putting her in the higher tier, but I think she belongs below Arthur. Let me know what you think in the comment, because this man had a crazy run, and I'm still a little shocked by it to this day, because it's really much better than any other infantry unit like in the game. Thank you all for watching this video. Don't forget to like it. It helps the channel a lot. And a huge shout out to all my members, but more specifically my tier 2 and 3 members. Those being Brawler456, Forgotten Fox, Hirame, Case, Iron Wolf, no, 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 no. Storm Eagle CH, Black Rose 32, Rogue Arcadia, Stylish, a Grumpy Bear, and Reploid 0. I will see you all in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed this Vanessa solo run, and hopefully I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.